Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. Power on. Board functioning at 100%. Microphone detected. Storage accessible and ready to receive content. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Spectrum Talks. Where'd these boys come from?
So we got eight dudes in the sound booth, and we're just going to be talking about stuff today. And we were talking earlier about, John, you were talking about school and being autistic, right?
Right.
You want to tell us a little bit more about it?
I started high school in '83, but I started high school in '84. I graduated in '87. I went to a place called Pinecast. That place was abusive. I went to ARC for a while, and then I stayed right from '88 and then we moved up here in 1990. And started this place in New Horizons. They said that he had to be 22 to get in there, and I stayed home for a while. That December, I was in New Horizons. I stayed there for a couple of months. I worked at this place called Tisco, and I stayed there for a while. They placed me on another job, but it was hot in there, and it didn't work out. So I went back back in December '91.
So school was a little bit hard at times?
Yeah.
Was school hard for anybody else? It was hard for me occasionally. Okay, what was hard for you?
High school especially was hard for me because my freshman, sophomore, and junior years, I was homeschooled. So I was, at least for my freshman and sophomore, I was by myself. I'm the type of person that needs to get out and be with other people, like we all are. Besides the point, I was facing major surgery on my ankle. Homeschooling was just the best option at the time.
Cool. Who else had a little bit of hard time in school?
I had interesting
Can I go last?
times.
Sure.
I'll go last. I want.
That's cool.
I had interesting times before high school. I had really easy time with school work, but hard time getting along with people. Hardly ever socialized, which didn't bother me that much because I was a huge introvert. And then when I got to high school, it kind of reversed where I had lots of friends and it was really easy to get along with people. But then the schoolwork got hard, and I was like, I dropped out into 10th grade.
So was the hardships that everybody feels like they had, was it, do you think, because of being on the spectrum, or was it just normal being in high school and you had to figure that crap out?
Okay, I want to input.
Okay.
You guys might have had it easy. I didn't have it real easy. And
I don't think you should say
none of us said we had it easy.
well, I had to put up with a lot of BS in high school. And still to this day, I still do. You know, truth be told, you got to put up with people who are going to like you or don't like you.
Yeah.
Simple. And you just got to let it go over your head and under your feet. So, you know.
But that's normal. That's just normal everyday stuff, right?
When you're in high school, you think people's opinions matter. And then when you get older,
yeah, exactly,
you
John.
realize it didn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter in the long run. I will say I'm a better person because I've went through that. I'm better. And I think, you know.
Yeah, I think adversity is always a good way to learn.
Exactly.
And how you handle it.
And so it's tough. It's you know, and every day you just gotta keep one foot in the forward. Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not gonna get personal or anything.
That's cool. So it was hard.
Okay, Forrest Gump.
Yeah, sometimes it was hard because of have to do.
Well, there was just a reference there that I had
You'll
to
put
make.
it
What reference did I say?
No, it was.
That's all I have to say.
No, but anyway, so school was hard because of being social, right? It was awkward. I think that goes for anybody. I had lived in Europe most of my life, and then I come to American school, and everybody calls me the European kid, and I'm like, no, I'm an American kid. But my perspective was I had lived in Europe most of my life, so yeah, I was the European kid. So I had to figure out what it was to be an American kid. And the school I went to was very cliquish.
Yeah.
So it was hard to, they had all been going together since high school, since kindergarten. So how do you break into groups of people who are all friends for, a solid 10 years or more? So I figured that out, and it was awkward at times. I have a funny name, and they make fun of my name. I just learned to take that and use it to my advantage. It's like, yeah, it is a funny name, and then you kind of take the energy away from them, and they can't laugh at you anymore. So all of a sudden they're like, we'll keep them around.
I need to.
Let me add stuff.
Okay.
Y'all never had a bully in high school?
Yes.
Yeah, I was a bully, and
not in high
I
school.
was bullied. I did both.
I was bullied too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you get abused. What was that, Northeast? Yeah, in Florida. I was abused in Northeast. I was abused in high school. The other kids, sometimes the other kids will abuse you.
Yeah, and I think bullying, especially in high school, I think it's just kids not knowing how to treat one another.
Yeah.
And so
Or the parents.
they feel better about themselves.
I can relate to your what you're saying, John, because I'm not going to go into specifics, but like I said, I have been bullied as well, and the thing about it is there's a finite line of ignoring it or bursting into flames, and there were points where I just may have did something I regret, but...
So to your point there, I think if somebody's ever bullying you, you can go one of two ways. You can ignore them, or you can react. And why are they bullying? They're looking for a reaction, right?
They are insecure about themselves,
right,
and they have to have a scapegoat.
Right, but they're looking for a reaction, and then they get the reaction, so you're giving them what they want. So I always find the best thing to do with bullying
to give them what they want.
Is just either ignore them or turn around and just be super friendly. And they either learn how to handle it, or they turn around and ignore you.
It also works to really know how to laugh at yourself.
Yeah.
If you're amused by their jokes too, then,
you diffuse the situation.
Yeah. Well, every day, I will say I've gotten better at laughing at myself, because hanging around you a lot has really shown me that you're not afraid to laugh around yourself, and it has. So I guess I've gotten better at just saying, sometimes, I'm getting more and more just that's something funny about myself, Well,
and I think that all comes with growing up, too.
Well, exactly,
We learn about communication. We learn about when somebody's not being serious or when somebody is being serious. Brad, thoughts?
Well, I agree with what we're saying so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to.
Although, one question. About bullying, can't you just stand up for yourself?
That too. But I think the way you do that is, instead of getting super reactive,
that can be dangerous.
Don't give them the energy they're looking for. Be super friendly.
Right.
And they'll freak out, and they come at you a little bit harder. You come a little bit more friendly, and then at that point they either freak out and leave you, or they want to be your friend.
Because quick sidebar on just bullying in general and how to deal with that. You're taught in schools, especially I remember in elementary school, you're taught very very quickly you need to stand up for yourself by telling them what you're doing is wrong, and you can do that, but like Dieter was saying, that's the reaction they want. They want you to flip out and be angry and stuff.
They're not going to stop, Alex. They're not going to stop.
Hang on. So I think definitely laughing at yourself and all of those things, I learned all of that pretty early on too, of you stand up for yourself, but it's not by telling them that what they're doing is wrong, because while it is, that's not going to solve the situation. It's by nullifying what they're doing to you, by laughing or ignoring it, or any of those strategies. I think it's important to know that how to stand up for yourself in a way that will be effective.
So Tyler, you're a big bully. What's that feel like? Let me clarify. Tyler plays basketball, and he has to run down court and get in people's faces. So he's a bully on the court only. Otherwise, he's the nicest guy on the planet.
I was actually thinking about what you guys have been saying, and one of my really good friends growing up, we make fun of each other, kind of just like in a lighthearted way. It was never serious. But that's when you guys are really good friends, you tend to sometimes throw some jokes at each other. And he had this method where he would just agree with whatever thing you had to say with him. He'd be like, "Man, your shirt is so ugly today." He'd be like, "You're right, man. It's the only shirt I have. It is really ugly." And then literally we would just stop and be like, "Oh, all right, okay." And then that was it.
You take the life out of it.
Yeah, it was like, well, this isn't fun anymore.
Right.
And some of what you guys have been talking about reminded me of that, where he always used to do that, and we'd be like, wow, all right. And that was it. And just ended it.
I need to say something because there's something that's I don't want to call you out or anything, Matt, but you said you tried to make it seem like we were talking about how we had it easy, and no one really has it easy.
No, I'm not. Yeah,
And
I would agree.
one thing you need to learn through life is that no matter what struggles you go through, everyone else is going through their own struggles. And there was an incident I had in 5th grade where I had to change schools because of a rumor that got started, and that was not a fun time in my life.
Must have been hard to go through that, John.
Yeah, like the whole school just
Rumors
avoided
suck,
me.
man.
Yeah,
I got something.
you need to be aware of other
Go ahead and
people's
point it up
shortcomings.
towards you. There you go.
Hey, John Aldridge.
Yeah. What's up?
Like you were saying, no, you don't know what someone's going through, and bullying might be their only defense.
Well, maybe it's not even a defense. Maybe it's a weird way of cry.
It might be their coping mechanism.
Well, it might be their cry for help, and they just don't know how to. They don't know how to say, "Hey, I need help." It's just easier for them to try to grab attention from somebody, and they just go about it the wrong way. So
yes.
it could be that. Not saying we do have. I knew a guy in high school who was the meanest guy on the planet. He had no problem coming up to you and just beating you up, and he would just enjoy that. Then he would go home and destroy his room. He had issues, and so we just learned to. When we saw him coming, it was like, okay, he's not gonna have a good day regardless. So we're just gonna get out of the way.
He used to tear up his room.
He was just a hellion. He grew up. When he hit like 25, he became the nicest guy. And it's just like, okay, that's cool. So whatever demons he had, he got rid of them.
Sometimes people change.
People do change. So, and lots of times, like I said, if somebody's acting all bullyish and mean, sometimes it's just, not in the moment, but maybe later, go up to them and just talk to them. They're needing. It's kind of their way of crying out.
Well, you could be really neat at first, and all of a sudden you get turned off.
Right. So, since we're a bunch of dudes in a box, what is autism? What is on the spectrum for people out there in radio land who don't know what it is?
Well, yeah. So if they don't know what it is, they live in a robot. Some of them don't know what autism is. They live in a robot.
Is there even one definition?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Let's explain it. It's not one thing. It's is it even really a thing?
So to Dieter's point, multiple people have several. Autism can have several definitions.
Okay.
Because it is a spectrum.
So spectrum meaning it affects certain people one way and other people a different way, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So Big John, or
What's the
John,
common factor? There's got to be a common factor.
John Droughty and I both have autism. However, our severity is different. But John struggles with things I don't. I probably struggle with some things John does.
But in the same breath, we all struggle differently. Like,
Yes.
I'm good at music, and I can play a bass.
But
But you can't play a bass, so you know what I'm saying. It's so
Yeah.
on some levels, I think we add more into it than really needs
you have to
to.
say
Yes.
something.
So
You
go ahead, John.
see, I take a lot. I take medication. I got anxieties and all of that. I got a lot of pain. I get nervous about stuff.
Yeah, so I'm new to all this, but I can see that it's mainly just different way. It makes sometimes learning is just a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So that's probably a good description.
And
That's why it's called a learning disability.
I'm not a science guy, so
You're not Bill Nye?
this is the most basic definition that John was saying. There's got to be a common factor, and the common factor, I believe, goes back to, I'm not going to say numbers because I don't know which ones they are, but it's related to the amount of certain types of chromosomes that you have. And that's the common factor, but that in people affects different people differently, and that's why autism is a spectrum. Even though the same thing is happening to everyone, it affects each person differently.
Yeah.
It's interesting too because what I see is sometimes people who have autism are more inclined to do well with math. It's why math? You know, I notice you guys remember dates and numbers like that. You know, and then I go back and check, and you guys are correct, and I'm just like, I couldn't tell you what happened last week. You know, let alone 6 months ago.
To Dieter's point, Exhibit A on the math thing, Exhibit A would be the movie Rain Man.
Right.
Because he can literally drop he literally dropped a bunch of toothpicks.
Oh, you remember that?
You remember that movie?
He literally dropped a bunch of toothpicks and instantly knew how many there were.
Isn't that cool?
Now, granted, he may have been an autistic savant, but
it's interesting.
The
Why
point-
does, why does
the
the
point
brain
still
do that, you know?
the point still
It's trying
remains.
to make up for one area lacking.
I see that. Yeah, I see that one where he, he was watching TV. His brother's on the phone, and he looked down and said, oh boy, he's looking at a bunch of planes, and then he said, "You come on this plane, you hear me?"
Right.
He went, "Oh!"
He got upset, right?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
not in a specific order, right?
yeah. He went, "Ah!"
You should be an actor, John. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. He's telling his brothers that this airplane crashed in 1985. This one crashed in 87, whatever. This one crashed in 1977.
Oh, I know exactly what line you're referencing, Big John.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie.
I think.
so-
Oh, you need to go watch it.
So,
I think the brain tries to make
Hang
up
on.
for lacking in some areas by making it excel in other areas.
Okay, that makes sense.
there was another one of them. There was another movie that he was autistic. And the movie was The Boy Could Fly. You remember that movie?
I didn't see that one.
He got up on the roof. He was living with his uncle, and he kept getting on the roof, and he kept thinking he's gonna fly. At the end of the movie, he started flying with this girl.
Okay.
He was autistic too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what I was trying to say earlier, John Droughty was referencing a line from Rain Man when Dustin Hoffman's character was going on and on and on about Qantas having the safest flight record
Okay.
and how he only wanted to fly Qantas.
Cool. So, if you're living with a disability, a learning disability, how do you cope with when you have to learn? It makes things harder, you know. I find myself, like, if I have to go sit in a lecture, my skin feels like it's gonna crawl. I just can't sit and
Dude,
listen.
for real.
I just can't sit and listen to somebody talk. It drives me
I
bananas.
had that problem going to church because when
I,
someone talks.
by the end of high school, for me, because that was my main issue too. By the end of high school, I was coasting through, skin of my teeth, C's and D's, just trying to like finish school. And I went through a couple colleges too, and ended up dropping out of both of those for the same reason. Some people's brains aren't made for learning by sitting and taking notes and listening to someone, which is what I think. I'm going to go off on an important but admittedly slight sidebar here. I think the school system needs to be vastly overhauled to accommodate kids who learn different ways. Because, like, I could have thrived in high school if there was an option of, like, okay, so he doesn't like, like, he's never going to use social studies. So he needs to be on this track where he learns more practical skills with his hands, and, like, learns by doing and trying things. Like, I feel like I could have done really well, but that, and even college, the whole thing it's structured for one type of learning, and not everyone is like that. So.
Yeah, it's like I went to biology lab, and I'm cutting up frogs and mixing chemicals together, and that all just totally made sense to me. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to become a biologist, and then I go have to sit in class and do the paperwork part of it, and I'm just like, yeah, not going to happen.
Right.
Because. And even to this day, you give me a paragraph. Bob has 3 apples. Sally has 4. They walk 6 feet. They drop 1 apple. Who has? I'm just like,
nope.
Yeah, whatever.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares. So.
Why are they carrying so many apples?
Yeah, new rule, because I don't want to move it over and over. If you're gonna talk, just grab the mic yourself.
Or just talk loud.
Yeah.
To Alex's point about learning differently. And learning differently, and if you happen to have autism, there are some great programs out there from different universities.
I agree that the school system
that specifically cater to autistic or even people with other mental disabilities.
Grab it.
Cool. Matt's leaving us.
I agree that the school system should definitely change. I would have no idea how it would work because there's so many different learning styles and how to figure out.
Well, I would say, to talk about this for a second, you would need to customize it a little bit student to student, but there are 3 main types, which is auditory, visual, and tactile.
Right,
and so the 3 tracks I would break up there. Do you learn by handling things? Do you learn by listening? Or do you learn by watching? Break it up there, and then you work with each individual teacher to customize it to exactly what you need to thrive. And so it would be very based around what the student needs and not what the school wants to do.
Yeah. I agree with that. It goes beyond that because some people don't learn well in a group setting, and some people learn better in a one-on-one setting, which is what I do normally. Hi.
So in terms of on the avenue, I've been trying to learn how to teach and impart some knowledge. How are we doing in terms of on the avenue? Are you guys learning? Is there different ways, things we should be doing to learn better, or what do you think about being here on the avenue and learning, John? Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, I like coming here because I get. I remember like I think it's like 2 weeks ago. I didn't think this place was gonna be open, and I went over to talk to Mom. I said, "Am I working tomorrow?" He said, "Yeah, I guess." And she said, "I said I get over sense." And she said, "I'm gonna try you on this charity medication, make you move around more and all that." And I take it when I eat. I take it when I don't eat. I take it after I eat.
Okay. But what about learning? Do you like learning on the avenue?
Yeah.
So, is there a better way I could be teaching you, or?
Well,
I'm helping you learn how to type.
Yeah.
Is there something
you can
else?
teach me how to email.
Email? Okay.
Eat.
So, but in terms, Brad,
Same for me.
Is there a
too.
different teaching style I could come up with? Are you liking what we're doing? What are we doing? You know.
Well, I think mostly I'm mostly seeing how it's done.
Okay.
And I think that's what works good for me.
Okay. So we do these practices where we get the camera out.
That's right. Yeah.
And then we practice that way, and that seems to work.
All I want to say is, when I was younger, people used to respond to me because of my problem of
I learned best from an audible explanation and then a visual representation. Or a demonstration. So it's a kind of a combination of visual and audio.
Cool. Okay. Well, this was our test podcast. You want to keep going, or we want to?
I gotta step. It's hot. It's getting hot.
It's getting hot. That's kind of. It's getting hot in here. 8 dudes in a box.
So take off all your clothes.
Out. No
This
way.
has been. I'm gonna put music on it just because I can with this. This has been 8 dudes in a box.